absence. DeMarcus Cousins has really played two of his best games as a Warrior, but now obviously there's some concern that he might have to sit for a bit. And what would that mean for tonight's lineup?
Yeah, Hannah, I just talked to a couple Warriors officials a few minutes ago. And while Cousins is expected to get his MRI here in the next hour or so, they're not very concerned. He may have to sit out tonight, but they don't think it's an issue that will linger. The key for the Warriors here is Andrew Bogut is coming back. He's in San Antonio. He's not with the team here at shoot-around this morning because he's getting his physical. But Steve Kerr went out of his way last week to say, we don't want to make Andrew Bogut fly across the country after flying across the world from Sydney to come play for a couple games, but now they're going to need him probably for a couple nights, and he's familiar with the system, so they don't believe that it's going to take that long for Bogut to pick it up. The thing to remember here is the Warriors have a back-to-back. They play tonight in San Antonio, tomorrow in Minnesota, so it's not just Cousins that they're going to be cautious with. It's the rest of their veterans as well. I'd look for a few guys to get a night off either tonight against the Spurs or potentially tomorrow against the Timberwolves.
Well, that would make sense. They've done it in the past. And it's pretty cool to see the 34-year-old Australian who was a starter on Steve Kerr's first championship team come back and play with the Warriors. Nick, thanks. Well, the Warriors lead off our special edition NBA Monday Night doubleheader against the Spurs. That's coming your way at 8 Eastern. And then out to the Rose City for the Pacers and Blazers. Hoops on a Monday night. See it all on ESPN and the app.
It's been 6 days since the Giants traded Odell Beckham Jr. Okay, so you figure the Giants doing a reset. They'll suffer in 2019, short-term pain, long-term gain. But then they throw a bunch of money at Golden Tate. So what are they doing? Dave Gettleman speaking publicly today for the first time since dealing Odell. That is new on SportsCenter.
After much discussion, we just believed this was in the best interest of the New York Football Giants. I want everybody to know this was purely a football business decision. Odell is a tremendous talent, making him a valuable asset. With football being the ultimate team game, we turned that fact into 3 assets at the very least. Some have questioned why we signed Odell and then traded him. As I said publicly twice, we didn't sign him to trade him, but obviously things changed. And frankly, what changed is another team made an offer we couldn't refuse. But at the end of the day, in order for us to move Odell, the other team was going to have to knock it out of the park. This narrative that Eli's overpaid and can't play is a crock. So at the end of the day, you guys got to say Gettleman's out of his mind, or he knows what he's talking about when he evaluates players.
The Giants GM doubling down, a ringing endorsement of his quarterback Eli Manning. Our NFL insider Dan Graziano here. When you hear those words out of the GM's mouth, why is that telling you? How might that color their draft strategy this year?
Well, I think they're only going to take a quarterback in the first round if they find one that they really love, that they believe can be the long-term successor to Eli Manning, whether that's a Dwayne Haskins or a Kyler Murray up at the top of the draft where they're picking 6th, whether it's a Drew Lock or Daniel Jones, maybe where they're picking 17th with the pick they got from the Browns. That would be why they would do it. But they don't feel like they have to take a quarterback in this draft. They feel like next year's draft is going to have quarterbacks in it, that Josh Rosen, has been out there as a possibility, you could trade for. I don't know if they would do that, but because that's been talked about, they know that there are possibilities out there for them in terms of finding a long-term answer at quarterback if they don't go that way in the draft. But they believe having Eli under contract for one more year gives them a little bit of flexibility and some options in terms of how they approach that problem.
I can hear the howls from Giants fans already if they don't go quarterback at number 6. Odell Beckham Jr., we heard him saying they weren't really shopping him, but they got an offer they couldn't refuse. And a lot of people didn't think it was that sweet of an offer. What did you make of what he said there?
Well, it's eye of the beholder. I guess it was an offer Dave Gettleman felt he couldn't refuse. My understanding is that he was telling the truth, that they weren't out there trying to trade this player, but that Cleveland was bugging them relentlessly. Other teams were calling, San Francisco, for instance, and then they reached out to Buffalo because they saw that Buffalo was in the Antonio Brown thing, so they figured we'll see what they have to offer. Look, they obviously decided at some point to move on from Odell Beckham, because there really is no offer that justifies trading Odell Beckham. So you have to get to a point where, like, we don't want this guy on the team anymore, and they got what they feel is a good return for him, a first-round pick, a starting safety in Jabril Peppers, and a third-round pick. We can debate all day long about whether that was enough. Obviously, Dave Gettleman is going to be out there selling the idea that it was.
Okay. Last week, we were all aflutter about what's going on with free agency. Things have calmed down a little bit lately, but there are still some big names out there, certainly on the defensive side of the ball. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, and Ndamukong Suh, the Rams let him go. He has not, we haven't heard much on him in terms of visits or anything like that. It's a player that's made a lot of money in his career, so there's obviously a perception out there that he wants to be paid a lot, and he's still a productive player, so he ought to be. Interesting, though, as veterans whose contracts expired, as the offseason goes along, you might see teams wait until after the first week of May so that assigning him doesn't hurt them with compensatory picks in next year's draft. So watch out for that.
Okay.
Not the case with Justin Houston of the Kansas City Chiefs, who was released during a contract and is available to sign with anyone and doesn't affect compensatory pick formulas. Watch out for him. I look at a team like Dallas, right? They don't have a high draft pick, and they have needs on the defensive line. So I see Sue, I see Houston, and I wonder about the Cowboys. Keep an eye there. And Eric Berry, safety that the Chiefs let go, he's got $2.95 million still owed him in guaranteed money on his Chiefs contract. Somebody will sign him and offset that a little bit for Kansas City. But he's a guy that missed a lot of games last year. So whoever's bringing him in is going to take a shot on his upside as a veteran who has been a productive player in the league. And hopefully can help them. But any contract he gets will reflect his recent injury history and probably be incentive heavy.
Okay, there you go. Dan Graziano giving us the latest on both the Giants and some NFL free agents still out there. Hannah?
David, coming up, how therapy and opening up to his teammates has helped Marquette's Marcus Howard handle life as one of college basketball's big stars. And who will be this year's Cinderellas, and which two seeds are already on upset alert?